The development of children from birth to 12 is strongly impacted by the socio-cultural environment in which they live. The social climate change has resulted to changes in how families raise their children, as well as changes in family structures. Developmental plasticity is our ability to adapt to different social and physical environments, which plays an important role from the moment of conception, and it is at its greatest for the first 1,000 days. Physical, cognitive, social, emotional and language skills are at the core in child development. I'll discuss existing theories, the compelling power of contemporary research, and how educators are challenged. McDevitt et al. Discusses the 5 developmental trends and how it is important to understand the dynamics of family structure, cultural background, parent styles, and disruptive influences on child development. Theoretical research encourages play in early childhood to develop cognitive, physical, social, emotional, and linguistic skills. Through play, children can engage and practice these skills. Piaget, as cited in McDevitt, suggests play is crucial for children's development. Play is a way for children to unify experiences, knowledge, and understanding. Play lets children explore and develop their fine and gross motor skills in a fun manner. The EYLF increased the age of early childhood from 0 to 8, recognising the importance of play. The framework provides developmental milestones as a guideline for educators. Vygotsky, as cited in McDevitt, considered play to be important for an individual's cognitive development. A child's brain develops rapidly in the first 5 years. Children begin imagining, reasoning, problem-solving, and knowing. Otto explains Vygotsky's theory of the importance of how language development is influenced by the society in which the individual lives. In infancy, children are learning to talk through baby talk, and by age 2 they are constructing simple sentences. Bruner et al., as cited in Otto, explains how children acquire language through their attempts to communicate with the world around them, further emphasising the importance of our social, cultural influences on child development. The physical, cognitive, emotional and language acquisition in the next few years is significant. The typical 6-year-old has 2,600 expressive vocabulary and circa 20,000 receptive vocabulary. Children continue getting physically stronger, building friendships and regulating their emotions. Between 10 and 12, puberty begins and rising hormone levels. These variations can affect personality. Bodies begin to change and children may challenge a sense of self. By the time a child is 12, he/she will understand about 50,000 words. At this age, children can think abstractly, have memory strategy and language skills, complex grammar and humour. In contemporary research, science tells us that we can find the solutions to complex social problems in early childhood, when the brain architecture begins to form, demonstrated in the Brain Hero video. The brain shapes over time, starting in the early years, and what happens early matters for a lifetime. Even more compelling is the theory that genes determine development, or that genes are set in stone, has been disproven. Epigenetic instructions influenced by our socio-cultural environment change how and when certain genes are turned on or off, which in turn causes health problems. It appears the epigenome is a crucial link between the external environments to shape our experiences and the genes that guide our development. Therefore, as educators, we have an added responsibility for the brain development of the children in our care. Reflective practice, teamwork, strong partnerships with parents, building on children's interests, quality assessment and planning enable the holistic development of the child. Murray explains that rather than being born with a fixed genome, we are born with a developing genome that changes in response to the environmental context. This compelling research can further inspire educators to help children who they perhaps thought were destined to continue a downhill path. Professor Mark Dabbs, Chief Investigator at the Sydney Child Behaviour Research Clinic, describes that all our experiences are turning certain genes up and certain genes down to help us adapt to our environment. Genes are being played like a piano. Professor Stephen Zubrick from Life at One Video explains that when a child is stressed, parts of the brain shut down. Thinking and memory become pruned, and they get stuck in the emotional part of the brain. Children in chronic stress situations can appear hyperactive and impulsive because of the way the brain has become wired in the first few years of life. Alternatively, they can be quiet, withdrawn, and unengaging. The Brain Builders video clip explains how toxic stress is bad for development and that basic structures may be damaged. To build better futures, we need to build better brains. To build better brains, we must encourage nurturing experiences to support positive development and growth across the developmental ages. Whilst on an 8-week teaching practice in London, I observed a wonderful diversified lesson valuing African culture, centred around the children's book A Hand of Surprise. After reading the story, the teacher produced some tangerines, asked the children to guess how many segments, and gave them all a piece. She extended the activity with planting tangerine seeds and putting plastic fruit and baskets on the tables to explore and play. Make connections between ideas that they are learning with what they already know, and make connections of this new learning to their experiences in the real world. Some multicultural children struggle linguistically and were from a low socio-economic standing, but this lesson included all the children in an equal, visual, interactive way. McDevitt advocates diversity through culturally responsive teaching, trying to accommodate the practices and values of children's cultures and including cultural perspectives in the curricula. The educator had thought about the cultural backgrounds, what the children know and can do, what they need to know, what the children are interested in, and what they have the potential to learn. By focusing your planning on the potential, children demonstrate you can tap into their strengths. It is imperative to understand and value Australian history and its first settlers, the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Island community. McDevitt discusses the importance of valuing ethnicity, culture and other aspects of children's backgrounds. Aboriginal English is a name given to various forms of English spoken by Aboriginal Indigenous people. Alarmingly, 50% of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Island school children suffer from otitis media hearing loss. With this knowledge, during instruction time, educators can ensure the classroom is quiet, speak in a loud voice, ensure lips are visible, use visual clues, and assign a buddy to assist learning. McDevitt describes how Aboriginal children experience poverty and significantly higher rates than their non-Aboriginal counterparts. They are 7 times more likely to be involved with child protection. With knowledge of socio-cultural environments, the impact from toxic stress, brain architecture and epigenetic influences, educators can be better placed to help Aboriginal and Torres Strait Island children. Research has provided knowledge of how physical, cognitive and social emotional development from birth to 12 can vary dramatically amongst children. Toxic stress, poor nutrition, toxic chemicals and drugs can increase lifelong risks for physical and mental health by changing the chemistry of children's DNA. However, toxic stress can be avoided if we ensure nurturing, stable and engaging settings. Through socio-cultural understanding, reflective practice, professional development, assessment and planning, educators can be best prepared to provide a secure learning space. In this diverse cultural world, it is essential to work collaboratively with families to include all children to help them feel valued and professionally loved.